Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today. We've met with Uta Lucky from Chief, who is the insurance broker for us at Marketlend. Uta, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Uta, and for you who may not know or do know, we have two insurers, and they are QBE and also Bond & Co. And maybe for our viewers, could you just explain a little bit about trade credit itself and what it does cover for a typical transaction?
Well, trade credit insurance is a risk management tool that is there to protect the investors, shareholders of a business in the event of the insolvency of their customers.
And your background, you've been involved in trade credit for most of your life. Maybe for the viewers, you give a bit of background as to what your experience is in the insurance industry.
Well, I've been involved in trade credit insurance for now over 35 years. Over those years, I was 20 odd of those years was as a underwriter, the risk taker, and in the last 15 years as a broker. Now, the broker is the person who is the mediator to ensure that the product that's gone to the market is viable and cost effective for the insureds. So my role is to make sure things happen in that regard.
And with our operations, our Chief Risk Officer speaks to you on a daily basis, and he'll talk to you about the exposures. And it's the case that then you look at those exposures with him and give a view as to the possibility of whether the insurer will or won't accept them. Is that right?
Absolutely. The aim is to make sure we get the right information. When I say right information, that it's informative for the underwriter to consider the risk and make sure that the data is accurate and positive and to the extent of ensuring the risk that you're after.
And as we all know, insurers don't like paying claims, but one of the things we've had 5 claims and they've all been paid. And I suppose step us through a little bit, when the insurer looks at a claim, how do they sort of assess it in the way of sort of seeing if it's payable or not?
Well, the first thing is they want to make sure that you've complied with the terms and conditions of the policy. And as a broker, our job is to ensure that you do that. So that's the first step. The second step is to ensure that you're within the credit limits that we're insured for, and they can be, so long as those terms and conditions are complied with, there shouldn't be any problems with the claim. But as you know, with commercial reality there are circumstances that occur from time to time, and that's not always a straightforward case.
And when we look at insurance itself, obviously we see it as an additional product for us from a risk point of view. But when we look at businesses and we look at the way that they look at the exposure, do you, when you're sort of considering the business, look at whether the product will fit within what they need in their business when we come to you?
Yes, we do. It's helpful that the underwriter is comfortable with the product or the supply of those goods or services to the buyer, because that's who they're on risk for.
And when we have our insurance renewed every year, obviously there's a discussion you have with the insurer, and I presume that when the insurer is looking at pricing and they're looking at the way of dealing with the policy, what are the sort of aspects that they sort of deal with or talk to you about during those times?
What they're looking at initially is, well, first of all, the nature of the business, of the insured, the debtor profile, the loss history in terms of bad debts, and their credit management procedures and processes.
And you obviously speak to our insurers on a regular basis. So, I mean, can you give for our investors a comfort zone as to how do they view us? Is there a positive, mediocre view? What is the general view by the insurers about Marketlend?
I think it's a very, very positive one. They've seen Marketlend grow over the years in a relatively short time, but the growth is clearly obvious to them. They appreciate more about the risk management systems and resources that you have in place to ensure that to satisfy their requirements, and that can only do, they can do nothing but improve the risk for them.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today. Viewers, obviously insurance is a very important part of our business. We always look to Uta and his team to assist us in looking at that risk and making sure we abide by it. And we thank you for your time again.